I am truly worried and concerned for our next generations. Generation Z, he went on to say, is the first generation that has not felt that they could achieve more than their parents. The young men seem to be more conservative, whereas the young women appear to be more leftist. I thought. I'm not sure how this ends up, he says, but I'm glad personally I'm closer to the finish line. My dear friend, I am sorry droning this morning, but this did give me a little therapy and boost, he said. Barry, God bless all the hard work you're doing on radio. We shall talk soon. Peter, your immediate thoughts.
My immediate thoughts are good monologue, Uncle Barry, and good morning to everybody that's here today. Good morning to Eric, who we're going to meet in a little bit, one of our new contributors, and Jim, who always does a great job for us. Before we get into the monologue and what we want to talk about, and I know we don't have a lot of time this week, is your interview with Jack Citarelli. I thought it was absolutely excellent. You covered a lot of really good points. It seemed to me there was some professional preparation, and I hate to give you credit, but I'm going to have to in this case. There was some professional preparation done in that interview, and as a homeowner and for people that are voters in New Jersey, two really important things came out of that interview. You got Jack Citarelli to go on the record as far as if he's governor, he'll do everything in his power to fight Washington on migrants in New Jersey. That's number one. And number two, if he's governor, there will be no offshore ocean windmill projects in the state of New Jersey. Now, for a Jersey resident, there are two great places to be. As far as I'm concerned, he's got my support for next governor of New Jersey, and it was great that you were able to get him on the record on those things.
Yeah.
You really did a nice job at that.
Thanks, Peter. Yeah, he was really a special guy. He was prepared and so well familiar with all of the obstacles that we have to jump over. So it was just a thrill to have him.
It's just hard to get politicians on the record on certain things, and I've heard him interviewed a number of different places, but you actually got him to state unequivocally that they're his positions.
Yeah.
I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, I think he's a cool guy. Eric, let me give you an opportunity to comment on my monologue, if you don't mind.
I will, and thank you for having me and having this platform, Barry. You do a great job speaking to people and not over them, and that is a huge thing. So what do I think about the monologue? I know for a fact that we are all witnessing and living through a cultural revolution, and it's happening so fast. We were put to sleep into hibernation during the pandemic. During that time, all the nefarious actors that are out there, whether it's the globalist community, the United Nations, UNESCO, you name it, they all combined to come down and give us a great reset. Unfortunately, they didn't have enough time to do that, so we're witnessing their ill-fated attempts. And if we don't all stand together, unify, wake up, become informed, get the information, and then act upon that information to save ourselves, we cannot wait for the government to save us. It's that simple.
Yep, I agree. And Pete, what are your thoughts on my comment to Gen Z? That to me is a little disturbing. I know when I grew up, my dad obviously was in the jewelry business and brought me into that business. And his thoughts always were to me, I want you to be a better and a more complete businessman than I am and be more successful than I am. And I was. And to be honest with you, I mean, as we see, this Gen Z generation, I think, has second thoughts on that. They can't seem to be able to get out of the grasp that they're going to be able to afford to buy a home. You and I never thought like that. We always thought you get married and the first thing you're going to do is look to buy a home.
Put your head down, get a job, and start paying your mortgage, right?
Yep.
That's kind of what we did. That's what we aspired to. But I thought you hit on a very interesting point there because we had that parental direction. And I don't see it nowadays. Even the parents that are involved with their kids are more involved as friends or mentors. And somebody has to tell you sometimes when you're walking out on a Friday night, hey, you look awful in that shirt. Yep. Absolutely. My dad would tell me, you're not going out like that. Well, what's the matter? You look terrible. Listen, if your parents can't tell you these things, who can? And I think a lot of these kids are misguided because they don't have that direction from their family, that strong nuclear family unit that we always used to have in the past.
Yeah. Eric, I want to turn to you in this monologue. I mentioned from via him, my friend, that this gentleman feels as if he's closer to the finish line. Now, this gentleman is somewhere between 60 and 65 years old. These are the golden years. I feel sad that somebody who has accomplished so much and worked so hard and built a family and all the other tributes to life is feeling like he's getting closer to the finish line and he can't wait to get there. That upsets me. Your thoughts?
When you're passing the baton to the next generation, speaking of generation, I will tell you something that my family has been based upon, and that is from Deuteronomy 6:7. And thou shalt teach them diligently to thy children. And them in this case means the word of God. We've lost our focus, we've lost our moral compass, and we've lost God in our daily lives for a majority of people. And without that moral compass, it's very hard to find a path to success. It's always going to bring you to know the difference between right and wrong. So this gentleman that you're speaking of, he's saying he's looking at the end because he never thought he'd be witnessing the things that we're seeing in our lifetimes.
No.
I'm only 52 and I'm more worried than that.
Yeah. Peter, your thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts are that I love Deuteronomy. It's my favorite book of the Torah. And I think I'm going to get along with Eric if he's quoting Deuteronomy. Because, by the way, that book was used more than any other in the formation of the Constitution of the United States. So we have a founding on a Judeo-Christian value system. When people say white supremacy, what they're attacking is not necessarily white supremacy. It's our system, because our system was developed on Judeo-Christian values by white Europeans. So that white supremacy is really attacking the foundation of our system, which is based on Christian values. Whether you like it or not, the Bible is a big part of how this country and how our founders formed our Constitution.
Eric, you had a busy week this week. Wanted to tell my listeners exactly what happened to you and what you were and how you were instrumental in stopping a walkout in a high school, please.
I first stood up about 4 years ago when my daughter came home from high school and said to me, Dad, they gave me a survey this week in school and they wanted to know who flew an American flag at their house. I told her, I said, well, you told them it's none of their business, right? She goes, I did, Dad. But then the conversation went to how racist it is to fly an American flag at our house. That's what got me into this. Last week, I get a text message from a good friend with a graphic from an Instagram. School-approved walkout. Save Palestine. Stop the bombing in Gaza. You wouldn't believe the comments on that page from other students and from outside influencers. So I know it's not just these kids in school sitting there thinking, how can we disrupt society in our school today? They went to the principal of the high school. They got permission to have a school-approved walkout. When I found out, I said, "Oh my God, this is the alarm. This is the moment."
Peter, you believe this? You believe what's going on? Now, hold on a second. Tell me and Peter and obviously our listeners, what did you do? Because I know you wandered. You called me and said, I'm wandering into Camden and I'm going to be in Norcross office to discuss this. Tell us what happened.
When the alarm sounds, what do you do as a citizen to take civic action? And that is to start pounding the phones to every elected official.